The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Shashina Rule. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news: concerns being raised tonight about the upkeep of a local upscale community, which over the years has had the distinction of being a leading residential area. Joan Davis-Roll fills us in.
A local developer says residents of Bahama are being shortchanged. The upkeep of the community, he says, is not in keeping with the original standard hundreds of Bahama residents have come to enjoy. Additionally, he says, there's a constant stench coming out of that area that is adversely impacting residents and tourists alike.
Increased their land service charges 60% in 1 year. 60%. They don't give any accounting for it, any audited statement or anything like that as to how it's spent. And you know what? The complaints are how often do our complainers complain? They run the district, and the sewer stench is so strong, it just absolutely alienates our owners.
President of Freeport Resort Club, Jack Gabrowski, is asking residents and other stakeholders within this leading upscale community whether or not they are getting value for money.
It was an amenity that was promised and belongs to the Bahamia, not Bahamian. People who live in Bahamia, it belongs to them. They're the custodian of the golf courses. They're the custodian of the beach club. And as a custodian, they have the obligation to keep it up so it's available. Okay, can you imagine all the owners who are golfers and love to go to the beach, and you know how hard it is now to get to the beach with Xanadu closed and everything like that. How do you think they would feel about their vacations? Costs a lot more. They got to rent cars. They can't walk anywhere. They can't walk to the bazaar, and they spend way more money, and they get way less for it.
With sports tourism becoming one of the fastest growing industries, Gabrowski says the restoration of the once premier golf courses in Bahama should be a priority.
There is absolutely no provision for even a temporary closure of any of these amenities. How can you justify the Emerald Golf Course being closed down now for 11 years? And not only closed down and not available, but it hasn't been maintained. It's going to cost $3 million to get that Emerald Golf Course up to speed, so now they can fulfill the obligations to all of the owners in Bahama. Okay?
Joan Davis-Roll, ZNS Network News.
Well, ZNS News contacted a top executive of Bahama Services and Harcourt Development, Mr. Donald Archer. Archer confirmed that Harcourt Development is in a dispute with Freeport Resort owner Jack Grabowski, and that he was not at liberty to discuss those related issues. Archer did state, however, that the company is moving to effectively address issues affecting residents of Bahama, among them the sewage, which from time to time overflows into the street. Their goal, he says, is to put an alternative plan of action in place. Now, when it comes to complaints related to the roads in Bahama, Archer says this issue is also being addressed. He notes, however, that due to a downturn in the economy, Bahama Services has had challenges in collecting service charges. He says once the company can collect these outstanding fees, then the company will be able to inject new capital into the overall upkeep of this upscale community. Switching gears now, relief efforts are continuing to pour into the South and Central Bahama Islands after suffering major devastation following Hurricane Joaquin. The Ministry of Grand Bahama is spearheading collection efforts in conjunction with NEMA and various other partners, including the Grand Bahama Christian Council. President Reverend Peter Pinder is appealing to churches throughout the island to use this as an opportunity to help the brothers and sisters in the South.
I believe that this gives us an opportunity to demonstrate the love that we have for each other, and by reaching out to people who are in need. I also want to appeal to our people to pray because very often in these kinds of situations, everything do not go as planned, and sometimes people who receive items sometimes are persons who do not need the items, and then sometimes others fall through the cracks.
A nonprofit organization, 700 Partners, is also on board with various partners, both national and internationally. President Ginger Moxie says that although the organization has only been around for about a year, this will be their first major project that will make a huge and lasting impact on the lives of many.
We have a website called 700partners.org, and there are individuals that become partners in it. There are companies that become partners as well, and so they reach out with supplies, they reach out with volunteer time, they reach out with monetary funds. And so what we've done, we've partnered, of course, with NEMA and with the Red Cross and the Salvation Army to come together to do this for the Southern Bahamas. They're our brothers and sisters, they need our assistance, and we're going to do whatever it takes to bring support to those islands.
Well, corporate Grand Bahama is also doing its part in assisting with hurricane relief efforts. Kimberly Mullings has the story.
As Hurricane Joaquin moved across the southern and central Bahamas, Troy Garvey from the Talk Real Talk says the group of activists formed a relief effort to collect donations. They plan to deliver them personally and lend assistance where necessary. Garvey says the group has already made connections with those on the affected islands to assist with a direct distribution, and they're inviting the public to make donations.
We're concentrating on basically trying to get water, bleach, and everything of those sort. But I would like to say that our efforts is not only going to Long Island. When we reach the Long Island, we're going to take it over to Acklands, Ragged Island, Rum Key, and San Salvador.
Corporate Grand Bahama has stepped up to the plate. Garvey says Fluid Factory and Mr. Baker have offered their assistance.
But it wasn't even a shadow of a doubt when Pinky say, yes, we will donate the 500 case right away. And we want to thank them for that. Want to thank Mr. Baker. Garnet has given us his house in Long Island and his truck, and the opportunity for no gas, no fees, no nothing whilst we're in Long Island.
Always wanting to lend a helping hand, Fluid Factory GM Clayvon Duncombe says it was only right to support this cause.
There wasn't no one taking action as they should have. We always look to help other folks, as we always do in the community. So doing this right now is just part of our portfolio for what we have planned for not only Grand Bahama but the Bahamas. Being our brother's keeper and looking out for everyone. So it was only right that we did our part.
Duncombe hopes that other members of Corporate Grand Bahama and other residents would help others in their time of need.
We just wanted to do this and let everybody know, especially in the Bahamas, that we are doing our part, and hopefully by them seeing this, other businesses could come on board as well. Yeah, just like everyone who could assist those who can't. We understand, because ain't everybody is in a position to do so. So those folks who can, don't feel bad. But we want other more persons who could step up and play a role.
Kimberly Mullings, ZNS Network News.
Now tomorrow you can make donations at Mr. Baker downtown Freeport, and on Saturday at Fluid Factory on Queens Highway. On Saturday evening, Fluid Factory will host an event at Club Amnesia, part proceeds earmarked for the Hurricane Relief Fund. And while Bahamians are coming forward in overwhelming numbers to provide relief supplies to the hurricane-ravaged areas of the Bahamas, a local psychologist says in the midst of all of this activity, attention must be directed to the psychological needs of those affected. Here's Megan Shepard with this report.
In the wake of the monster Category 4 Hurricane Joaquin and the devastation it left in the South and Central Bahamas, Chief Clinical Psychologist at the Ministry of Education, Dr. Pamela Mills, is calling on the entire country to be our brother's keeper. She says that seeing the photos of damage and hearing the stories of what persons went through, it is very plausible that trauma can occur.
What is happening now is the physiological needs are being met. Water and food, that's first and that's paramount. And then after that, persons would go through looking after the shelter. And that's some of what you're hearing now, that we are almost a week distant from when this would have occurred. And then after that, they start to get into other kinds of needs, needing people around them, needing to share and to care. For children, it's very good, and people in general, to have them tell their stories. And that's one of the strategies I use with children when they're going through such a crisis. Just sit down and listen to them tell the stories. They have to cathartic. They have to get that out. They have to talk about it. And then sometimes I would allow them to put it in picture form, to draw, or even record some of the stories so they can hear it themselves later on.
Mills says that though it may be difficult right now, parents should keep a positive attitude, especially in front of their children. Post-traumatic stress will occur, she adds, and it is important to reach out and support those impacted.
One of the key things that works well during this kind of time is togetherness. That is being there with your neighbor, seeing what your neighbor is going through, understanding your neighbor, talking, sharing, expressing your concerns, doing whatever you can and doing it as a community. So this is the time, even if the community never lived like that before, the fact that they now have one common cause, if they can just rely on one another. And my suggestion would be for everybody to reach out and help one another.
Mills note that Grand Bahamians know all too well what those in the Central and South must be going through. She says we must not only remember the physical needs, but continue to reach out, communicate, and pray.
My concern is that, we have this thing where we say things happen for 9 days, and I'm hoping after 9 days, this effort doesn't cease. That's my concern. But with the resilience that we have as a people, I know our people would bounce back. They're just going to need some time to do that, and that's where we come in, to be there as a support.
Megan Shepard, ZNS Network News.
So that's the Bahamas Tonight. The Northern Edition continues right after this.